means a lot to all of us. Good family. Good family. I appreciate it. You know, sometimes I think it's hard to talk about my mom as someone who's different from my dad. At some point, I think during their 59 years of marriage and their 4 years of courting, it was certainly long before I ever knew them, their deep love for each other kind of fused them together and made them a unit, made them one. They shared dreams, they shared laughter, they shared burdens, they finished each other's sentences. Sometimes they spoke for each other. If Mom was really mad at me, sometimes Dad would come talk to me, but I knew it was Mom's words. There's no missing that. So I don't really, in some ways I just don't feel that qualified to talk about her because she was such a one with Daddy. But of course, she was somebody who was also different from Daddy, and she was someone who was very special. And honestly, I don't think I've ever met anyone in my life like my mother. I've never met anyone like her, although my daughter Shayna sometimes does remind me of Mommy, both in her good moments and sometimes when in her strong moments. That's one to put it. Anyway, since I'm not the right person to talk about her professional accomplishments or her worldliness or what a great wife she was, I want to focus on the way I knew her best, which was as a Jewish mother. Now, being my mom, of course, she was not content to be a typical Jewish mother, and I don't think there was anything typical about my mom in any meaningful way. She did not lavish praise. She did not coddle us. She did not make excuses for us or for anyone in her family. Instead, she was the kind of person who set very high standards. And she expected us to reach those high standards. She used to claim that her standards weren't as high as her mom's. And the reason that she would say this is, I'd come home and I'd have a 98% on a math test, and she would say, you know, when I was a girl, I would go home and show my mom a test with 98%, and Grandma Teitelbaum would say to me, what happened to those 2 points? But I'll never say that to you, Judy. So, anyway, I think she really did. One of the things that was so special about her is that she actually trusted us. She trusted her children to reach those high standards. She really believed in us. And I think that's one important thing that distinguished her from the typical Jewish mother who doesn't necessarily believe in their kid and wants to make sure that they're there to make sure the kid actually gets it done. She knew we were going to get the job done. She just knew it. I can give a couple of examples. She let us participate in all kinds of different after-school activities. Susie's right, there were some that were off limits, but not too many. And we did, whether it was marching band or piano and string bass and piano and drama and orchestra and piano and basketball and youth group and piano. And she really, we even got to study with her piano teacher. And she really trusted us to find our own way toward excellence in each of those endeavors. And she expected excellence out of us, and she pushed us to do that. She also, as Susie mentioned, guided all 4 of us through the basics of preparing family meals, and cinnamon rolls, and blintzes, and cinnamon rolls. Oh, her cinnamon rolls. But once she taught us, she trusted us. She left us in the kitchen, and we were responsible for making meals for the family. And she didn't complain when our things weren't as good as hers, but she knew that they would always be better the next time. And that independence that she gave us in the kitchen is pretty, I have to say, it's good for me, and it is good for our kids. Not just my kids, but all of our families. So let's be honest. Mom was not like the other moms in the neighborhood. She earned 2 graduate degrees from the University of Michigan. It's not that the other moms weren't smart, course the other moms were smart, but Mom she was out there and she was like setting big professional goals, and she was achieving them. Even as a little kid, I knew that the other moms in the neighborhood were looking sideways at her, that she wasn't the one driving the carpool, that Dad was driving the carpool, and that she wasn't the one sewing up our hems when I'd split my seams in my pants, you know. Dad would do that or hunt it off to his secretary, you know, because she was working. She really was. She was out there doing things that made me proud. I mean, she was out there working with children and helping figure out what they needed to become the best learners they could be. She expected the best out of everybody, even these kids who had severe challenges, whether it was emotionally or intellectually or physically or their learning style. She really did bring the best out of everybody. I think my mom was at base a great feminist, and I mean this as a deep compliment. Nobody else in the neighborhood ever was, but me. She was a power to be reckoned with. She really was. She expected just as much from herself and her girls as she did from her guys. She didn't make any excuses for us. And woe to the person, as we all know, woe to the person who refused to get with the program and do the right thing and live up to his or her very best. Now, that's a lot to say, because she actually was also a lot of fun as she did this, right? But she was a lot of fun to live with. She loved to read poetry with us, and I loved the way she'd read The Raggedy Man, and Raggedy, Raggedy, Raggedy Man. And she used to sing along with us to songs on the radio or records by Neil Diamond and John Denver and Harry Belafonte. Like Susie mentioned, she used to accompany us on the piano, and we sang our way through that book on the piano, Great Hits of the 60s. Do you remember that? My dad loves to garden, and we'd have to go in there and pick all the stuff that he would grow. Yes. And I remember one time she picked up a zucchini as big as a little kid's baseball bat, and she chased David around the garden with that. And he's chasing her back. She had a hilarious sense of humor. She did love those New York Times crossword puzzles. And one thing I liked is that she had the patience to let us sit with her and help her with the puzzles. Help her. She needed no help with those puzzles, but she really got us loving them. Of course, she could do those double cross sticks, and I still, to this day, can't do those double cross sticks, but she loved to cook with Mrs. Ryder. She loved to laugh with Mrs. Ryder. I love the way she laughed. I don't think I've seen anybody laugh the way she did with Howard and with Leonard. I mean, the way you guys got her laughing was a real gift from God, and it was a gift to us as well. And of course, she did love the jigsaw puzzles, even though Lenny would threaten to chew off the little nib to make it fit. But, you know, there it is. Okay, so she wanted all of her loved ones to get the most that they could out of life. She was a great mother, a great woman, a great psychologist, a great sister, a great friend. And in all of these ways, I think she was a really big success. My rabbi, Sandy Sasso, has written a poem about the meaning of the Kiddush, which just doesn't seem relevant for now, but when you hear the poem, you'll hear why it is. It's the Friday night Kiddush. And I want to read it now in honor of my mommy, because I believe this is the way she approached all of life. The commandment to bless this wine is a commandment to drink life as deeply as we drink from this cup. It is a commandment to bless life and to love deeply. It is a commandment to remember with Shabbat hearts and to act with Shabbat hands and to see the world with Shabbat eyes. It is a commandment to laugh until we are all laughter, to sing until we are all song, to dance until we are all dance, and to love until we all of love. This is the wine that God has commanded us to bless and drink. And with that I say, with great love and great appreciation to my beloved and role model,